Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. Tonight we've got John Dale Loomis in the house. John Dale is a sheriff's deputy at Concordia Parish Sheriff's Department, a staff sergeant in Louisiana Army National Guard, a father, and will soon be marrying his fiancee Kelly. Let's go! Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of Miss Lou Champion Spotlight. We've got John Dale Loomis in the house tonight.
How's it going, man?
I appreciate you joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm really excited about this interview. I reached out to you a while back.
You did.
And this is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. What I want to do today with this interview is I want to talk about some of the police work, some of the military experiences, and kind of give people a behind-the-scenes look into those experiences.
Okay.
But first of all, let's start out. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up Concordia Parish, Vidalia, Louisiana. Been a resident all my life. Like I said, I went through the Vidalia school system, Concordia Parish, and upon getting done with that, didn't really have a plan for what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. I kind of flirted with the idea of joining the military, going to college, and I took off to college here at Co-In and did a couple years there, and then I finally joined the military. So that's kind of where my story takes off.
What kind of student were you?
In high school, man, let's just be honest. I didn't give it 100% effort, and made it. I was a 2.0 C student for the most part all the way through, and got out of high school. When I got to college, I found that college was pretty easy for me.
Easier, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a big math guy at all, so I've always struggled with math, and it might have taken me a couple of attempts to get through the math, but I eventually got through Co-In, graduated, and so now I've returned back to ULM. I'm online and knocking out classes, man, left and right. I'm usually taking 2 or 3 a semester, and I graduate hopefully at the end of this year.
Great. What are you gonna graduate in?
Criminal justice degree.
Awesome, man.
I'm a bachelor's. So.
What do you want to do with that?
Man, I really don't know, but be honest with you, the guard and all that is taking care of me tremendously, and the benefits are out there. So, I don't have a student loan. I've never had to take out a student loan just because of being in the guard, and they pay me to go to school. So as long as that's motivation enough. If I keep the grades 2.0 or above, and they'll pay you to go to school,
can't beat
buy
that.
Your books, give you a little extra jingle in your pocket. So I keep my grades up.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Well, that'll give you opportunities down the road that you may not even see right now, but just having that degree in your pocket will open doors. It's funny that piece of paper will just open doors.
It will.
Whenever you were growing up, was the military and police work something that you always wanted to do? Did you have people in your family maybe that were in the military, or? Yeah,
so I had some uncles and stuff that were in the military, and old brothers and all that, and so I just kind of always looked up to those guys growing up, and I had friends and stuff like that, way older than me that did this, and I was kind of always drawn to that, and it's something that I felt like I needed to do. After 9/11, seeing that happen, I was in 6th grade, excuse me. And whenever that happened, I said, down the road, whenever my time comes around, I want to at least, put myself out there and give it a shot. And I didn't really know what branch I wanted to go into, and I was leaning one way and going the other, and finally. A friend of mine got me into the Louisiana National Guard, and we took off with it and ran with it. So it's something I do not regret at all. Would do it 100 times over.
So let's jump into that. You were talking about the 9/11. What do you remember from that day that stood out, that still stands out to you?
So that day, I was in junior high, and I went to Mr. Fairbanks' class was my teacher. I know, and I wasn't I was kind of the class clown, so I always had to sit up by the front by his desk. And
Probably the same desk that I had to sit in.
One of those old desks, and he had one of those old box TVs up top, hanging on the wall. And he was big into politics and the news and all that. And I remember him turning it on, and we watched the world change that day. And it was kind of surreal that this was happening, and it just something that was etched in my mind forever. And always going forward, and that was 2001, so here we are. I'm in high school, 2003, and I've got friends that are in the military and stuff like that, and they're going to Iraq and they're going to these different places, and I talk to them and I hear about what it was like and what was going on, and I never was afraid of it. I just wanted my shot. I wanted my time to go over there to feel like I could do it, try to make a difference in the world, and it's something bigger than me.
Yeah. That day, reading stories about people in the military, that day changed a lot of people. That day made a lot of people say, hey, this is what I want to do.
It did.
Well, let's take a super quick break and recognize our partners who make this possible. And whenever we come back, we'll talk a little bit about your military experiences.
Okay.
Welcome to your new hospital, Trinity Medical. Located in Faraday, Trinity Medical is the only acute care facility in the Tri-Parish area. Here you will find an active pursuit of holistic health, a strong, honest group of clinicians, and a consciousness of others that transcends the 80,000 square feet committed to you and your loved ones. Trinity Medical. People you know, caring for people you love.
If you like what we're doing here at Miss Lou Champion Spotlight, make sure to like, follow, share on Facebook and Instagram, and visit our website, MissLouChampions.com. It costs you nothing, and it helps us to continue to shine the spotlight on awesome people right here in our community.
See you guys.
Growing up, my parents always encouraged me to do what's right, even if it wasn't easy. I'd always hear my mother's voice say, do the right thing. That stuck with me. Every day, just do the right thing. The rest takes care of itself.
At Shelter Insurance, we believe in doing the right thing for our customers and our communities.
For auto, home, life, or business insurance, see Shelter Agent Sabrina Doré.
All right, we're back in studio with John Dale Loomis. Let's talk a little bit about your military experiences. I'm interested to hear some stories. Okay. And what year did you join the military?
So when I graduated high school in 2007, I had hopes to one day join the military, and I'd listened to my grandmother and my mom, and they were like, we want you to go to school. So I jumped right into co-in, did that, and I was working at a bank in Natchez. It's no longer around anymore.
Okay.
Britton Koontz.
Okay.
And my grandmother got me the job there, so I'm doing college, and I'm trying to figure out life, what's going to happen. And, finally I just made my mind up one day, and I left work, and I went to the recruiting office here in Natchez and signed up. And, I came home and I was like, hey, Mom, guess what? I'm in the military. And they were like, going crazy. How a mama would react.
Yeah.
And grandmother wasn't just totally thrilled about it, but, it is what it is. And so initially, this was in 2009. So once I signed the documents and paperwork, I was supposed to go to Fort Benning. Well, whenever I had some paperwork fall through at the last minute, and so they pushed me back a few months, probably about 4 or 5 months, and they swapped me all the way out and said, you're going to Fort Sill now. And I'm thinking, okay, Fort Sill in November, it ought to be nice. And
where's this at?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Okay. So I go to Fort Sill in November, and it's freezing, which I can take the freezing over the heat any day. I love it. So I did Fort Sill, started in November of 2009, 10, and so I graduated basic training in February and rolled straight into AIT at Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. So you go to your school and you learn your job and whatnot. And so I did that until about April. So whenever I get home in April, I joined the 1086 Transportation Company out of Vidalia, Louisiana. So they have 3 branches. They have one in Bunkie, Louisiana, which is the main headquarters, a detachment in Vidalia, Louisiana, and a detachment in Ville Platte. So I'm in the Vidalia unit. I'm like, hey, all right, come in. And I walk into the first day of drill, and they're like, you ready for deployment? And I'm like, what? And it's like, nobody told you? I was like, no, I had no clue about all this.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, we're going to Afghanistan in September. And I'm like, okay, well, I got 6 months. So that's how that.
So you were in for how long? You were in for, I guess, was that 9 months before you were deployed?
Oh, man, I was still green behind the ears. Didn't know what was happening. And it was kind of, when it hit me, I was like, man, this is happening, And
well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. So what was your mental state when that guy said, you didn't know we're going?
I'm a young private at this time, and like I said, I'm still green behind the ears. I'm new to the whole military game and how the Guard works and how things go about. And so with the Guard, you're not full time. You still have the opportunity to live a normal life per se and work and do whatever, and they work with your schedule. But once a month, 1 weekend a month, you have to go to training wherever that may be. And then in the summertime, you kick off a couple weeks for they call it the summer camp, or annual training is what we got it as. And then if any type of hurricane or natural disaster happens, you're called upon, and that's kind of that's the job. But there are the perks and there are their ups and downs and whatnot. But so I'm still fresh into this. I don't even have my gear yet, and lo and behold, we go through all the spin up and the training at Camp Beauregard and here and there through the year of 2011, and then here we are. We leave out to go to Fort Hood, Texas, in September. So we get to Fort Hood. I get promoted to a specialist. So when I'm there, it's called a pre-deployment, pre-mobilization. So you get to pre-mob at Fort Hood, and we did probably about 60 days, 45 to 60 days, something like that. And we arrived in Afghanistan in October of 2011. So we were boots on ground probably like second to last day of October, and that's when it kicked off.
Well, tell me a little bit about the pre-deployment. What happens there? I don't know how much you can get into, but what do they do there? Do they train you, prepare you for?
So with a pre-deployment, it's kind of, to me, and like I said, I'm new to all this. So now that I've completed my 3rd deployment, a pre-deployment to me is the worst part of the whole thing. The whole thing from start to finish. The pre-deployment that's just my honest opinion, and I have a lot of guys that agree with me about that. But what you have to do is you have to complete X amount of classes via online or in-class PowerPoint presentations and all this mess, sign these rosters. So it's a long, tedious process. But once you make it through and you check all these boxes, then you have to go get CLS certified and CPR and combat lifesaver. You have to do all that. You got to go through all these cultural awareness classes. You might have to take a couple language classes. You got to go through the range, and you have to go through all the firing and shooting, your 50 cals, your 240 Bravos, your 249s. You have to go through the range and do all this. You have to, it's a tedious process. So they want you, your expectation is when you roll into this, foreign land or country, you're as well-rounded as you can possibly be. So it's long nights, early mornings.
It's as much mental as it is physical preparedness. It sounds like.
It's like I said, you're stateside, but you're not home. You can't go home. You can't. You don't get days off. So usually you're up at 4 or 5 in the morning for whatever training event, and at the end it's a combination of everything that you've trained up in this pre-mobilization. At the end, you will do a field exercise where it's life-changing. And from my experience of it, when we made it to that end of this, we had these gun trucks called Max Pros and Max Vs. And they're almost like 55-ton vehicles, right? And they're up armored, and this is what we're going to be driving. They want to make it as real as possible. So we're doing this training out here in Fort Hood, and we're driving through, and they have simulation smoke bombs and IEDs and all this good mess, and they set them off. And so whenever that happens, I had a major. He opened up my door and he said, "Your whole truck has been hit with IED and everybody's dead. You need to call up the 9 line." And I'm like, okay. So you take this card and you have to call it up on the radio in under X amount of time in order to get the helicopter in the air, the bird in the air. When I called that 9 line up, an actual Black Hawk came in and landed, and we had to put the people on the litters and get them in the air. So it really put it into perspective and opened my eyes, like, this is exactly how it's going to happen and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And when I got to Afghanistan, it actually happened. So it was, there, like I experienced it in real time.
So it sounds like, even though it may be the worst part of it, it sounds like it's necessary.
It was very
part.
necessary.
One of the things I think is interesting that you touched on in there too is you briefly mentioned learning the other cultures. That's something that we may not think about from American civilian standpoint, but it's got to be a challenge to go into another culture, not understanding what's offensive to them.
It is, and it's not. In Afghanistan, you interacted a lot more with the local nationals. I interacted with more local nationals in Afghanistan than my two following deployments. So it's just little things like you're not supposed to show the bottom of your soles of your shoes to these, and they find it offensive. You had to learn their proper handshakes and covering and bow and just all sorts of stuff. You had to you didn't want to disrespect them in their country. Yeah. And like if they offered you tea or food, it was a disrespectful thing to not partake in it. So it might not be the biggest fan of the tea or whatever little food they have, but it's a disrespectful thing to not participate when they offer it to you. So you do that, and then they have the different religious holidays and stuff like that. So you just have to honor them, and like Ramadan and stuff like that. So it's a month-long thing for them, and they have to fast from sunup to sunset, and they can't drink water, can't eat or anything like that. So it's kind of you don't go and it's unwritten law that you don't go and just offer them water and stuff like that, rub it in their face, So once you kind of get a grasp on how things operate, it's pretty smooth. So
that sounds like a lot to learn, though. I mean, you don't want to go into somebody's country. You need those. I'm imagining you probably need those people to sort of be on your side a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, you had a couple of interpreters and stuff like that, and I found that pretty interesting because you could actually break that barrier of communication and talk to them and give them some American-made products, and they appreciated that and they liked this, and so it was definitely a culture shock to me. At 22 years old,
Where you said you've been on 3 tours?
Yes.
So where were the 3 tours?
So my first tour went to Afghanistan, and we ran convoy security. We were driving these, up armored vehicles and whatnot, and we were escorting different local nationals carrying like containers or shipments of food to get to the infantry that was in the lower provinces of Afghanistan or in the northern or whatnot. There were times when we had to, the engineer companies were building bases, so we needed to get supplies to them so they can complete their mission, and it all kind of intertwined with each other. And so Afghanistan was a wild ride, I guess. we didn't lose anybody at all, but we did take a lot of hits, and that's something that they were very active, and it wasn't, you couldn't get complacent. You couldn't be that young private that it's life's a game, and no, this is war. This is real bullets and bombs and whatnot. And so you have to look out for not only yourself but your your brothers and sisters and stuff like that. So it'll make a man out of you or a woman real quick and make you grow up fast. Yeah.
So then after Afghanistan, what was your next?
So after Afghanistan, I took not because I've didn't want to, but when a unit comes back, they roughly have about 4 or 5 years before they could probably get reactivated and go out. So I was in the 1086, and I got home from Afghanistan in 2012, and then about 5 years later, we get put on the radar that we're going back overseas, and this time it's going to be to Kuwait. So when we go to Kuwait in 2017, we get there, and we were moving. We had three platoons, and we had a maintenance platoon, we had first and second platoon. Well, first platoon, they consisted, let's say, about 60-something people. And what they did is they got certified on these certain vehicles called HETs. And basically it's a heavy equipment transport truck, per se, and it's capable of hauling tanks, M1 and Abrams and all this good mess. These trailers are designed to carry these massive pieces of equipment all over the country. So that first platoon was tasked out with, doing that. And then, our second platoon, was tasked out doing that. First platoon was tasked out with running different types of ammos and missiles and stuff like that from one air base to the next. And that's when the fight, I guess around 2017-18, it was kind of ramping up in Syria pretty good.
Okay.
So we had to get this ammo and weapons and all this stuff from Kuwait to the air base to Syria. So everything you were seeing on the news, it was kind of, from us helping to getting that stuff over there to these guys, because, the way Syria is, you've got to get everything flown in there. So that's kind of how we did that.
So you were coming out of Kuwait into Syria?
No, we wasn't driving to Syria. We were driving to the air base.
To the air base, yeah. So the stuff was coming from Kuwait.
Stuff would come in by sea.
And flying into Syria.
Stuff would come in by sea.
By sea, okay.
And then we would have to take it into the air base. That's where the Air Force picks it up. Air Force takes it to the next location, and then there it is. So this was a constant, everyday thing, and it was pretty cool. Kuwait, though Kuwait is not a combat zone per se, it was a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going. As far as work, that was the hardest deployment work-wise.
Really?
Oh my gosh, they run us into the ground, I felt, and you add that extra heat to it. Like I said, the hottest it got was 129, 130, something like that. So wearing a full uniform,
man.
it got pretty rough here and there.
Wow.
So.